So I saw this from Joel Klatt. This is his current CFP bracket prediction. He's got, the buys being Ohio State, A&M, Indiana, Bama.
Pretty evergreen, yeah.
Yeah. And then Miami in the 5. So there's your ACC champ. Georgia in the 6, okay. Texas Tech in the 7. Ole Miss in the 8, hosting Tennessee. So he's liking Tennessee, which you look at their schedule, I think they have Vandy and Florida or something like that. Like they can win out. This is pretty SEC heavy, but there's Oregon in the 10.
Speaking of Vandy should be in there.
So he doesn't have Georgia Tech. He's got Georgia Tech faltering, which if you look at what the committee did last year with SMU, right, that second loss is in the ACC championship game. So if you look at Georgia Tech, if they lose to Georgia and then lose to Miami in the ACC title game, they would still get in. Right. So I'm looking at this.
Unless they get blown out in those games. But yeah.
Unless, they get totally embarrassed. He's got USF still in the 12. All right. I don't know about that right now, but okay. He's got Notre Dame in the 11, which you think about schools like Cincinnati, BYU. There's other teams out there that are still potentials. If the committee thinks like Klatt here, there is a potential that Notre Dame could run the table and get left out. I saw this and I was like, shit, I don't know. Am I crazy?
I think what projections like this do, and not to the fault of Joe Klatt or anyone else doing a player projection, but they assume that no one loses a game they shouldn't. And we have seen over and over again, especially this time of year, especially in conferences as competitive as the SEC and the Big 12 for that matter, upsets do happen and they will happen. So I think at this point, it is a safe assumption that enough upsets happen among the teams ranked ahead of Notre Dame that Notre Dame gets in without much of a struggle. If the last 4-5 weeks of the regular season are chalkier than we expect, then it could get a little hairy depending on where. Again, it all depends on what we find out on Tuesday, what the committee thinks of Notre Dame right now.
Jack made a good point about the upward mobility stopping too, because I'm looking at the rankings right now. If Miami's the team ranked right ahead of Notre Dame in the AP poll, if they lost again, do they stay ahead of Notre Dame because they beat Notre Dame and they would both be 2-loss teams? My biggest question is, once some of these teams ranked ahead of Notre Dame start taking their second loss, does Notre Dame hit a ceiling and they're they can't go ahead of these other 2-loss teams? Like Vanderbilt. If Vanderbilt lost close to a team that I won't mention on this podcast this weekend on the road, does Vanderbilt stay ranked ahead?
Vanderbilt's losing to Texas.
Does they stay ranked ahead of Notre Dame, though? Does a 2-loss Oregon, Ole Miss, do they all stay ahead of Notre Dame? That's where it gets dicey for Notre Dame. Notre Dame has this blockage of not being able to move ahead of other 2-loss teams because those 2-loss teams are in conferences or they've played. You know what I mean? I don't know what that is, because here's another spin zone of that. I would take Notre Dame's 2 losses ahead of probably any collection of 2 losses that you can throw at me. What 2 losses are better, so to speak, than any of the 2-loss teams that Notre Dame's going to be up against?
We saw last year that the committee just really did not hurt teams who lost in a conference championship game. So that's definitely something. I mean, you just look at all of these teams that are still in play.
Yeah.
USC's still in play. Houston is 7-1. The team that Tyler's not allowed to mention, but I will, Texas. The team that Jack is not allowed to mention, but I will. Missouri's still in play. Oklahoma, 7-1 Cincinnati, 6-1 Louisville. How about Virginia? 7-1 Virginia. BYU is not in class. They're undefeated. Vanderbilt's not. Georgia Tech's not.
Shout out former future Irish Bear Buckmeyer.
It's really interesting. Now, with all that being said, I do think Notre Dame's going to get in for the great point that Jack made, and I think we all agree. But it still is not a lock.
That's fair. And I think what Klatt kind of opened my eyes to it and probably needs to open everyone else's eyes to with that projection, as much as it's not a lock, Notre Dame needs to be prepared for and Jack mentioned it earlier in the show too. Notre Dame fans need to be prepared for the double-digit playoff seeding ranking. Like, even if they went out and they look great doing it, 10 or 11, like Klatt put there, is very possible. And hey, man, as working media, that'd be fun. I would love to go on the road for a CFP game and cover that.
Yeah.
Oh, I would love that. As long as it's a cool location, ideally somewhere we could drive.
So here's the last two comments we have. We should love that bracket, and that path is good for Notre Dame. At Georgia?
Yeah,
we
Georgia.
love that.
At Georgia. And then like, you guys don't understand how good Indiana is right now.
Yeah,
I know last year the playoff games is stuck in your mind, but this is a much better Indiana team.
I forget who I was listening to, but like they laid out all the reasons that this Indiana team is different. And I kind of alluded that earlier in the show. When Indiana came in here last year at the end of like their first season of being legit, I was like, okay, you're legit, but Notre Dame is legit-er. Like they're still better than you, and it proved out that way. This year, I'm not so sure. Like I think Indiana can play on that same level. They just couldn't last year.
The top two on every Heisman poll is Simpson and Mendoza right now.
All right. Well, fun discussion. And I'm glad that you guys are on the same page as me. I think like when you actually look at this and have a discussion and it's like, okay, it's not a lock. It's likely if you run the table, you're in, but like, heck, I was thinking, oh yeah, maybe Notre Dame will host. Maybe
we'll learn a lot on Tuesday, right?
We will learn a lot on Tuesday.
On Tuesday.
At that point, it's like they set the foundation, and it's pretty simple. Like the teams above you, if they lose, there's a decent chance, even if you have the same amount of losses, that Notre Dame will be ahead of those teams.
When Notre Dame went 0-2, our message board and social media and everything became inundated with, here's what we need to root for Notre Dame to get into the playoff. We will know much better when these rankings come out. Like, oh, okay, nope, it's that team that needs to go down, and that team needs to beat that team, and so forth. So I'm excited for that.